sports news all the time?
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
Today, with the support of the NFL, a new playbook is being written. One where we all play for the same team. Across 27 cities, the National Gay Flag Football League provides inclusive play for over 4,000 LGBTQ+ players and allies. Under these lights, walk-ons are welcome.
Your sports news all the time?
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
The sports world never sleeps.
And neither do we.
Catch up with Brandon and Zach on the Morning Buzz Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on CBS Sports HQ. The Morning Buzz brings you the latest storylines and highlights with expert analysis to get you dialed in. So grab your coffee and kickstart your day off right with the Morning Buzz only on CBS Sports HQ.
Yeah, Thursday. Welcome to CBS Sports HQ Primetime Pregame. I'm Eric Casilius, and now we start. All right, not one, not two, not three, not four. 5 days of important football. That's right, 5. You're just going to blink, and it's going to be, oh, I'm going to bed on Monday night, and that was a wild roller coaster ride. It starts tonight. College, reporting to the dance floor, down in Miami. The Orange Bowl. This is Penn State. This is Notre Dame. This is it. Here we go. Notre Dame seeking their 12th national title, but first since '88. How about that? Penn State hasn't won since '86. So one of these two teams going to get a crack at it. Now, Notre Dame had a crack at it a while back, and they got swallowed by Bama. There is no Bama on the other side, at least in terms of SEC. But this is for a trip to the national title game. Pretty even game across the board. So let's go right down and onto the field at the Orange Bowl. Richard Johnson, Josh Pate, they are there. All right, you've had a chance to walk around that area. You've had a chance to walk around the stadium. I see the guys walking around behind you. Give me a little flavor for what it's like to be there. Richard, I'll start with you.
Oh, it's getting a little close. You can feel it in the air. You can feel it around. The fans have started to come in here. Players obviously on the field. Penn State a little tardy to the party, but they have arrived, and we are going to kick this thing off here at 7:30.
I think also, Eric, what we've seen in the past with some of the mainstays, your Bamas, your Georgias, is there was a little bit of, complacency from a fan base perspective that set in because they were just there every year. These two aren't here every year. It's been a long time for either one of them to be able to take a true bite out of that national championship apple. It was not difficult to get these folks to travel to Miami from South Bend and State College respectively, so very lively here tonight.
All right, let's start with Penn State on their side. Abdul Carter, obviously a huge impact player. Very critical to what they're trying to do. Was on the injury report, is going to go. Do we have any idea how healthy he is tonight? Because it's one thing to give it a go. It's another thing to be ready to go. Where are we with Carter? Josh?
I think we got to watch him early on. I mean, it's a case where whatever you can shoot yourself up with, you're going to be shot up with, and that's the difference. Kind of like Brock Bowers a season ago, the first couple of series versus a whole game. Different position, but the principle remains. And then we got to watch in the third and fourth quarter, Richard, because we just saw Notre Dame beat that Georgia team, and they beat them because Riley Leonard able to convert third and short to first and 10, third and short to first and 10. Abdul Carter being on the field is the difference between first and 10 versus fourth and 2. We got to watch that really closely. There's a difference between being able to go and being your normal effective self.
If it's a shoulder injury and I'm Notre Dame, I test it. I test it early and often. Abdul, are you ready to take on a block? Are you ready to take on multiple blocks? Go after him and see how healthy he really is. That's what I would do on offense. But look, Josh and I, we talk a lot about this opt-out culture. Guys don't want to play. Guys sitting out for the NFL draft. Look, if the shoulder is attached to the torso, Abdul Carter will go in this game. And I think that's just a beautiful thing in the college football world that we live in.
All right, so you told me if you're Notre Dame, you're going to run at him, you're going to test him, you're going to do that. James Franklin has gotten maligned for not being great in big games. What's the Penn State plan tonight? You got a quarterback who's pretty good. You obviously have the two-headed running back. You got to deal with Notre Dame with a mobile quarterback who doesn't throw it on a whole lot, at least for a lot of yards. What is the Penn State plan that's going to be different than the obvious stuff that I'd be expecting? Richard.
For Penn State, can you make that Notre Dame offense come out of its shell? Can you make Notre Dame in any way chase this game? Can you get up by 2 scores and, for goodness sakes, make Notre Dame throw the ball more than 20-odd yards down the field, which they do not want to do. They want to run the ball. They want to control the pace of the game. They want to use Riley Leonard's legs. They don't necessarily want to make Riley Leonard throw down the field, and that's where Abdul Carter may come in. Because if Abdul Carter can put his hand in the ground and just come after Riley Leonard and potentially get some sacks and some havoc plays, well, then Penn State may have a really interesting evening. That bodes very well for the Nittany Lions.
I mean, Notre Dame playing from behind, it's such a compliment to say it's still a question as to whether they can do it or not. We hadn't seen it since the Northern Illinois game. It's forever ago. It was week 2 or week 3 when that happened. I'll tell you another thing, Eric, that I'm focused on here from a Penn State perspective, and that is the concept of offensive balance. It's not something I need to see on the stat sheet at the end of the game. It's something that Al Golden and the Notre Dame defense needs to be convinced of. They need to be convinced you're willing to run it or throw it in any down and distance situation, and that has to do with doing both early on. Tyler Warren is an obvious mismatch, or has been all year, but those tailbacks out of the backfield in the passing game, I think really important to get incorporated early. So if you can have a turnover, not be the difference in the game, and have some offensive balance, I think you take your chances if you're James Franklin.
All right, who wins this thing, and how have you changed your perception on this game over the course of the week and being down there? You know, like, were you like, hey, I started on Notre Dame, now I'm on Penn State? Are you like, I started on Penn State, now I'm even more Penn State? What's your pick, and how is it shaped and changed throughout the week? Josh.
I was Penn State early in the week. The Notre Dame people ragged me unmercifully, which made me more Penn State. So I don't want to say rooting interest quite yet, Eric, but I'm solidly in the Penn State camp. I'll tell you why. A couple of things. The first is, I think Georgia was set up to do something last week, and they did not take advantage of it, and that is take advantage of how undersized Notre Dame is on the defensive front with the absence of Riley Mills. Georgia couldn't do it. I think Penn State, with the tailback tandem they have and the size they have on the offensive line, could lean. And the other thing is, Penn State's really good in the red zone defensively. Notre Dame is a go-for-broke offense when they get inside the red zone. They really don't settle for 3 very often. So somehow, some way, I think those are going to play in my favor. I'm taking Penn State plus the points. I think they win outright.
From the day the 12-team field got announced, I looked at Notre Dame's path to a potential national championship game. I figured it would go through Penn State, but I figured they would be in the national championship game. So I've had Notre Dame since the first week of December, and I ain't getting off the horse now. I think Notre Dame wins this game. It will be close and it will be tight, and because of that, I take the Irish. The way Marcus Freeman manages the game, the way they go for it on 4th down, they're one of the best 4th down conversion teams in the country. They use complementary football to win ball games. That means special teams to return to kick for a touchdown against Georgia. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to come after punts. And I think because of that, I like Notre Dame. I do not like Penn State in one of these spots. I think they get too cute on offense, too cute in situations. They outsmart themselves. So I'm taking the Irish.
I'll sort of split the difference. One of the things I like Notre Dame under 24.5 points. I don't think they're getting over that threshold. And then I'll tell you what, we'll get into it later in the hour on who we actually think is going to win this thing. Well done. Enjoy the game from the field. That's what I'm talking about. Richard Johnson, Josh Pate, sideline. Yeah, I'll throw in a sideline pass. You know what that's from? You and I could be friends. Yeah, you know what? There you go. And you get the Josh Pate show. You want to check that out. Straight ahead. Who is going to get it done? We'll bring in our experts. And I'll tell you who I think wins and why. That's straight ahead. I'm Eric Casillas. Yeah, primetime pregame. All right, here it is tonight. Story developing from down there at the Orange Bowl. Penn State apparently is not even on the field yet. And normally they would be, but they are stuck in traffic. Trying to figure out if they've actually arrived. They've gotten in there. I mean, we've all been stuck in traffic, right? It's not that fun. I mean, even a sing-along doesn't get it done. You know? 1.5 is your current number, 45.5. That opened up close to 50 and is just lower, 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 and is now universally 45.5 as far as I can see. All right, Mike McClure, Tom Casale jumping in. I wonder what they would sing in a sing-along. Tom Casale, I bet you'd give me a good Grease, rendition of Tell Me More, or one of those things. Like, I know he'd be able to come out with something. Mike, my guess would be probably give me something that had, I'm just going to say there's probably a pretty good guitar at some point in time in there, and that thing is plugged in. It's not acoustic. That's all I'll say. All right, let's start with the spread. Michael, what do we like on this 1.5? And do you even factor in that Penn State isn't at the field yet?
I don't factor in that Penn State's at the field, not at the field much at this point. You can also talk about some of the illness concerns on the side of Notre Dame. I think all things kind of equal here. It's a different environment. Obviously, the stakes are so high. It's important on both sides. I lean to the Notre Dame side. I played them on the money line here. Not going to mess with the 1.5 or 2.5, depending on where it has been or when you bought in here. But when I look at Notre Dame's team, I've been incredibly impressed with the development of Riley Leonard this season and Marcus Freeman. I like the way that these coach. I think he flat out coached Kirby Smart in that last round. And I think that they've got this skill set to get it done here. And what I mean by that is they've been good at putting themselves in that third and short situation. And when you've got a quarterback like Riley Leonard, who is just made for the college football game, I like his ability in the run game to simply pick up a first down and keep a drive going. I think Penn State gets a little too creative in this game with their offensive play calling and potentially makes that mistake, makes that turnover that is the difference in this game. But for me, Notre Dame's been one of the best teams in college football, and I think this line's a little inflated because of what we witnessed against Boise State. But keep in mind, they allowed a ton of yards, Penn State that is, to Boise State. So give me Notre Dame here on the money line.
Yeah, I got it. I mean, look, I'm a lean. I'm a little bit of a lean towards Notre Dame here on the money line. I really kind of don't want any part of this. The one thing I would say, and I realize I'm using my own interpretation or definition of spread because it really is a team total. Okay, I get it. But you know what? Every once in a while, if your name's on the show, you can just sort of fudge the rules, and I'm doing it here. I admit it. I like Notre Dame under 24.5. They may still win, but I like them under 24.5. Look at what they did against Georgia. I mean, they got a field goal and then a touchdown because Georgia turned it over, and they had a one-play touchdown, a 13-yard drive, and then they got a kickoff return out of halftime. They had 3 scores in 1 minute of play, and that was pretty much it. And against Indiana, they had a 98-yard touchdown run, and that's pretty much it. I don't know who's going to win, but I don't think Notre Dame's getting over 24.5. It's an alt line. You got to play it up. $1.50 or $1.60 in some spots. I don't care. All right. Obviously, I don't care about my own question because I didn't really take a spread there. Yeah, I'll take the abuse. But, Tom Casale's a little bit more, willing to adopt with the rules. I guess you like Notre Dame more than just the lean. Tell me why.
Yeah, I think we all see this game the same way. I agree with Mike. I think in a close, low-scoring game, I think Riley Leonard picking up first downs with his legs, maybe scoring inside the red zone, that could be the difference. And one other thing I'll say is, I had Boise last week, and part of my reasoning was Boise likes to send 5 guys in pressure, and I thought that would give Penn State problems. They got down 14-0 before they started doing it. Then it bothered Penn State. I thought Boise outplayed them for most of the game. They just didn't take advantage of their opportunities. So I think Notre Dame's going to sit back, wait for a mistake, play it cautiously. Like Mike said, try to get 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts, keep the chains moving. Low-scoring game, but I like the Irish to win and advance to the finals.
All right, now let's get to the total. And you said low-scoring game. That's where I am. I'm under. And it seems like everybody's under. The total is just lower, lower, lower all week. The real question is, at what point is all the value squeezed out of this towel? Because, again, it was 50 and open some places, quickly went to 48.5, and then sort of went to 46.5, and is now settled at 45.5. I still go under. But now I'm looking for alternative ways to play it because, again, that's a big difference of where it opened. Tom, are you still under? And at what point, do you sort of go, maybe that's, it's a hands-off for me?
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy who opened it at 50. He's probably looking for a job today. But, yeah, listen, 46 was about my cutoff. It's 45.5. I see this being like a 2017 kind of game. You mentioned the Georgia game. Listen, I was shocked. I'm all for aggressive play, but it's 3-3 with 3 minutes to go in the half. I figure Kirby wants to get in. He's right where he wants to be. Throws it 3 times, punts 6-3 Notre Dame, gets the ball back again, and throws. So, like you said, it just out of nowhere, Notre Dame was scoring. I think Notre Dame is going to play conservative again. They're going to wait for Penn State, wait for Aller to make a mistake. So clock's ticking. I got it 2017. I still think it goes under 45.5.
Michael, are you with us? Or you want to say, hey, at some point, I'm going to flip and go the other way?
I'm not going to flip and go the other way. I think the only time I could potentially look at buying the other way, EK, is all the way down to 41.5 or 42.5, where you get there in a 23-20 kind of game. But I'm looking under, though. I like the first quarter under at 9.5. And it really comes down to how I think both teams are going to play this, / I will say should play this one. If you're Notre Dame, you're going to run the football, whether it be with the running backs or Riley Leonard. But if you're Penn State, I think you really have to attack on the ground. I think if there's one real questionable spot for Notre Dame, is it's potentially the interior linemen on the defensive side and their sheer size. If you're Penn State, you try to run and test early there. You don't get super creative in the passing game against a Notre Dame defense that in the passing game is pretty good on all 3 levels. So I think we see clock moving really, really quickly in this one. And I'm going under because I don't think we're getting a touchdown and an additional score here. And again, what should be a running clock. So let's go under 9.5 in the first quarter.
Yeah, I know that I was looking today. One book hung a 10 for about a hot half a second, not a 10.5, and even 10, and that went up and out before anybody, you could see people were throwing whatever they had in their hands aside and lunging at the window, metaphorically, of course. You're not betting that way, but I always think of the old school guys in that spot. And that was, again, you had to, if you didn't jump on that quickly, that was gone. But I'm with you. I sort of like that. Well done. Let's take a look at our happy recap of what we would like you to do, our guys, and where we have things. And, yeah, it's pretty much a Notre Dame and under. And, again, I like the alt line Notre Dame under 24.5. Mostly hanging 23.5. You have to pay up. But I would pay up and go Notre Dame under 24.5. All right, straight ahead. NFL player props. Let's go to that market. Who's going to have a good day, and who should you be fading? That's next. I'm Eric Casillas. Yeah, Primetime Pregame. Las Vegas Raiders have fired general manager Tom Telesco after one season. Move comes just 2 days after the team fired head coach Antonio Pierce. Raiders just 4-13 this year, winning their fewest games since the 2018 season. So Vegas will now have a head coach and GM to hire this offseason. Ravens have ruled out wide receiver Zay Flowers for Saturday's wildcard showdown against the Steelers. Pro Bowl wideout was hurt during last Sunday's win against the Browns, and now misses his first game of the season with a knee injury. Flowers leads the Ravens this year 74 grabs, just over 1,000 yards, and 4 touchdowns. College football, Georgia quarterback Carson Beck entering the transfer portal. That's been confirmed by our Matt Zenitz. Beck spent the past 5 seasons in Athens, serving as the Bulldogs starting quarterback in each of the past 2 seasons. This year, he suffered a season-ending elbow injury in the SEC title game. Tonight's Hornets-Lakers game has been postponed due to the Los Angeles area wildfires. It's the second professional sporting event to be postponed in L.A. in the past 24 hours, along with last night's Flames-Kings game in the NHL. NBA has not announced when that game will be rescheduled. All right, over to the NFL. This just in. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts upgraded to full participant in practice today. An indication that Hurts is on track to play this weekend in the wild card round against Green Bay Packers on Sunday. Hurts missed the final 2 games of the season due to a concussion. He returned to practice yesterday in a limited capacity. That was his first on-field work since that concussion in Week 16. Now, they're not going to play on Saturday, so we'll get an extra day. But here's who will play on Saturday, including Chargers-Texans on CBS. So you want to make sure you check that out. It should be obviously it's the AFC, and it's going to be an awful lot of fun because you got Jim Harbaugh in the first one, and you got a divisional rival in the other Harbaugh in the second one. All right, I'm Eric Casillas, Primetime Pregame, Zach Simony, Mike McClure. All right, Saturday. Give me a player prop you like. I got 2 I'm sort of going back and forth with, trying to figure out what my best one is. But Zach Simony, what do you have?
I'm going to go under 28.5 receiving yards for Baltimore Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely. The first month of the season, it looked like the shift was going to happen for the tight end one of the Ravens from Mark Andrews to Isaiah Likely. Andrews had just 65 receiving yards through the first 4 games, but now the shift has happened with Likely. He's had 38 yards or less in 6 straight games. You go back to the 2 matchups against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Outside of a scramble throw in the first matchup that Lamar Jackson hit Isaiah Likely for 42 yards. Both tight ends have been held in check in the recent Week 16 matchup. Both had 37 yards or fewer. There is no Zay Flowers, so that means the Steelers can adjust their coverages much easier. And you look at Lamar Jackson in the postseason, he has not been reliable in terms of passing yards. 4 playoff games since 2020 is averaging just 191 passing yards. I think it's going to be a low yardage type of game. I'll go under 28.5 receiving yards for Likely.
All right. Like where you're at there, Michael?
I'm looking at C.J. Stroud here, EK, and I'm going to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And it really just has to do with the price point play, right? This thing is all the way up to plus 148 now. That implies 40%. And to be honest with you, I think the number should be closer to 50 than 40, right? So if this were plus 125, I'd be staying away, which is still an enticing plus money number here. But at plus 148, I certainly think in this matchup where they're likely to be neutral or trailing as a home underdog in a dome against this Chargers team, they're going to be throwing the football because the Chargers are going to stack the box. They're going to try to stop Joe Mixon and force C.J. Stroud with a beat-up receiving core to beat them. And I think that ultimately this sets up well for him to get there. Now, do they win the game and cover? Probably not here, but I think that he does have 2 touchdowns. Potentially, again, if they're down 10, 14 points in this game late, when the defense softens up a little bit, I just think the price point here is very, very attractive at plus 148 just to throw 2 touchdown passes.
I like Jaylen Warren over 19.5 receiving yards. I was trying to find an under I liked, but this is really the one I like in the Pittsburgh game. I think Pittsburgh's trailing. I think they're trailing early. I think Baltimore's going to lay the leather to them in the first half. And then I think what happens is Pittsburgh's looking for ways to move the ball. And the one way that Baltimore has been extra susceptible is backs out of the back. I mean, Roquan Smith's a great player. He just can't cover anybody. And if he's on the field, it's going to be dump it off here, and Jaylen Warren probably catches 2 and probably goes over on the second catch. I think he probably actually catches 3 in the game, but I'm going to go over the 19.5 in that spot. All right, let's go to Sunday's slate and see where we are, and then we can get our best prop there. And on Sunday, it's 3 games. 1 o'clock, 4:30, and then Sunday night. I like the Broncos-Bills game, of course, on CBS, and that's where I'm going to head for the Sunday prop. I'll go first. This is one that the number makes me happy here when I see this. I like Bo Nix rushing yards over 23.5. I'd go up to 24.5. I'd go up to 25.5. There have been 8 times this year he's been under 25. 6 of those 8 were games where the Broncos had a really positive game script, were way ahead by double digits, and he didn't run that much. I don't think that's going to happen. If you don't think the Broncos are going to be up 10 or 14 in this game, he's going over. Because every time they're not, he does. Over. 110, 23.5, FanDuel. That's my best prop of the entire weekend. Michael.
You know, I like another running back out of the backfield. It's going to be Austin Eckler, over 2.5 receptions at plus 102. And it's a bit speculative, but I think Austin Eckler is going to be the lead back for the Commanders in this matchup because you simply do not run the football on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We all know that it is a pass funnel defense, and this is a spot where I think Jaden Daniels looks to take off and run a lot with by himself. And I think there's definitely a scenario where they get themselves into a shootout, potentially or down by multiple scores in this game. Austin Eckler is the guy that gets those dump offs. I really think this number should be 3.5, not 2.5. And the fact that it's still plus money, I love this here because I think there's a scenario where Austin Eckler could catch 3 passes on 1 drive in the second half of this game. Give me over 2.5 receptions plus 102.
I'm definitely intrigued by that. I'll be crunching that tonight when I'm, watching the Penn State game. Zach?
I like both of those props I just heard. I'm going to go over 225.5 passing yards for Jordan Love this time of year. Most players are dealing with ailments, and Love is in that category, but he's shown to be a person that can recover quickly from injuries. Had the MCL sprain against Philadelphia, came back earlier than anticipated. Had the groin injury against the Jaguars, was able to recover from that one quickly as well. And even minus Christian Watson, I believe the Packers have the skilled players to excel in the passing game against Philadelphia. Go back to week 1, Jaden Reed had his biggest pass play of his career, a 70-yard touchdown. Also had his biggest rush of his career, a 33-yard touchdown against the Eagles. So his role will be big. And the Packers have also evolved their usage of Josh Jacobs out of the backfield. Jordan Love, he's one of those quarterbacks that shows up in the big games time and time again. I wouldn't be surprised if this closes around 240 passing yards. Get it now, over 225.5 passing yards.
Yeah, that'd be quite a jump. Well done, gents. Want more, need more. Our guys are getting it done when it comes to the prop market, when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to college football, when it comes to the NBA. Scan that promo code. You get 60% off if you put the promo code in winners. So scan that QR code, and then put the promo code in winners, and that'll get you 60% off an annual plan. All right, NBA next. What's the best play you can make? That's next. I'm Eric Casillas. Yeah, primetime pregame. right, taking a look at tonight, NBA, notable games. Timberwolves suddenly playing pretty well. Anthony Edwards been on fire. Been down there in Orlando. Rockets Grizz, that's a very nice game. Two teams playing really well, almost identical records. And Hawks are a little bit of a mystery. They are out there in the Valley of the Sun. All right, I'm Eric Casilius here. Primetime pregame. Let's get Zach Simony, Tom Casalian. Let's go, first go player prop. Give me your player prop of the night. Zach, you're first.
I'm going to go with Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors over 9.5 points. We've seen this point spread shift from the Pistons being 2.5-point favorites to the Warriors -3, and that's because Steph Curry was cleared and Draymond Green cleared. Both were on the injury report early in the day, and I think this is a gut check time for this Golden State Warriors team, who are just 3-6 over their last 9 games. You have to get, you expect your 2 veteran players to step up, especially with Andrew Wiggins being ruled out. Back-to-back losses of 15 points or more, but Green is giving a high effort in their latest loss against the Miami Heat. He had his best all-around game of the season. 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 7 points. Made a nice floater shot, took 9 attempts. And if you look at him so far in the month of January, he's averaging 9 shot attempts per game. That's his highest shot attempts in any month over the last 3 years. So gut check time. I expect Curry and Green to perform well tonight. I'll go over 9.5 points for Draymond.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Quentin Grimes over 14.5 points. Still no Luka, no Kyrie. Grimes is playing more, averaging 29 minutes the last 4 games. He's gone over this total in 4 of his last 6. And what I really like is Portland struggles to defend shooting guards. They rank 25th in three-pointers allowed to the position. You look at Grimes, he's attempted at least 7 threes in the last 4 games. He's shooting from the outside. You know, the matchup is right. I like the number. I think we see another big game for Quentin Grimes tonight.
The last couple of days I've given out Anthony Edwards as a super long shot MVP at 25 plus 25,000. And that was about, I guess, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. And he's played really well. Last 3 games, on fire. And he's done it largely from behind the arc. Nobody defends the arc better than Orlando. Nobody. And they're even better at home, where they're playing tonight in Florida. Plus, nobody goes lower than Orlando. I mean, this is the lowest total on the board. So I have a team that plays the 3 really well, defends the 3 at home really well, in a game with a low total against a guy that is shooting well outside of his median for the last 3 games. Hard to keep doing that. I'm going to go under Anthony Edwards, 25.5 points. It was 26.5 earlier in the day. Can't get that anymore. Down to 25.5. I could also see it going under 3.5 made threes, but I like the points a little better. Sort of wrestled with the 3.5 made threes versus the 25.5 points, but I want to fade Anthony Edwards in terms of putting the ball in the basket from deep in this spot, because I just don't think there'll be that many possessions, that many points scored. I think they'll focus on him, and I think he's playing a little over his head right now in that part of his game. All right, side. What's your best one? Tomas, you're first.
Well, you guys are with the only man in America who's on the Detroit Pistons tonight. So, I mean, that line has really moved, as Zach said. You know, Andrew Wiggins, too, and it still moves. Listen, I just like this Detroit team. I like the makeup of it. They've won 8 out of 10, 5 straight. You look at Golden State, they've covered just 3 of their last 10 games. I just think you're still paying a premium for the name Golden State. I'd like the Pistons. I think they're undervalued at home. Give me them as the underdog, plus 3 points tonight.
All right, Zach.
I'm going to take the big number with the Minnesota Timberwolves -6 against the Orlando Magic. Seems like every time we talk about the Timberwolves, they're on some type of streak. Had a 4-game win streak, lost 3 games, back to winning again, where they've won 2 games in a row. And the Orlando Magic made a big news note that they're going to have Paolo Banchero back tomorrow against the Milwaukee Bucks. This has been an Orlando Magic team that's had to utilize several young players in a big way over the last several months. I think that news is going to affect them. Their roles are going to be adjusted. I wouldn't be surprised if Tristan Da Silva and Anthony Black other players struggle tonight on the offensive end of the floor. And this Magic team is also coming off a big win against the New York Knicks, their first win out of 4 matchups this season. Getting a big win like that can cause a flat spot back at home where they have not covered in 4 straight games. This market rose from 3.5 to 6. I still think there's some room here with expecting the Orlando Magic to have a down performance with what's ahead for tomorrow. I'll lay it with the Timberwolves minus the 6.
Yeah, that was the 2 I were looking at. Is I originally put in that Timberwolves minus the 6, and then I flipped to Memphis, given 1 to Houston. I sort of have blindly decided, you get to this where you're like, there are certain spots where I'm just going to back a team and realize they're going to cover more than 60% of the time. And basically, it's the Grizzlies at home when their guys are ready to go. And they're not off a back-to-back. I like the Grizz tonight. I think they win the game. So give me the Grizzlies. That's not really an X's and O plays. It's more of a philosophical play. I can definitely get behind Minnesota. I've sort of started already on here. I think Minnesota's going to make a move over the next month. So I can go with either of those in that spot. Well done, gentlemen. Like where you're at in terms of player props, sides, all that other good stuff. We have so much more to get to. Get a sip of water because now I need your best. And you want our best, we're in one spot. Scan that QR code. And when you get there, you put the promo code and EK wins. And that'll get you 60% off a quarterly plan. All right, look, we have news coming out of the Orange Bowl. The line has shifted dramatically in this game really, really, really late. Why? What's going on down there in South Florida? We'll tell you, and we'll tell you if that changes our picks on the game. The one thing you need to know about tonight's game, that is next. I'm Eric Casillas. Yeah, Primetime Pregame.
sports news all the time?
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
Today, with the support of the NFL, a new playbook is being written. One where we all play for the same team. Across 27 cities, the National Gay Flag Football League provides inclusive play for over 4,000 LGBTQ+ players and allies. Under these lights, walk-ons are welcome.
All right, there has been some real issues of differing magnitudes down there at the Orange Bowl. First, Penn State got caught in traffic. They had a very late arrival to the stadium. It does not appear as though they're going to move the game time. But, I mean, when we started this show, we went down live onto the field at like 6:10 Eastern. This is supposed to be a 7:30 Eastern start. Penn State wasn't even there yet. So they're getting there late. Also, Notre Dame, apparently there's some illness or injury news on Notre Dame's sideline because despite the fact that Penn State is running way out of routine and late, we have had radical line movement in this game, and it is moving towards Penn State. Yeah, Notre Dame has been favored all week. In the last, 2 hours? This line moved 3 points, and now Penn State is favored. So all those, dumb graphics, as an underdog, Penn State is, not an underdog anymore. And that's the whole point. When they're, 1 point either way, I don't count that as underdog. This is a close game. Anything under 3 either way, to me, you're not a big underdog. So Penn State is now favored, and the total hasn't moved. There ye go. All right. Let's get everybody in. Primetime pregame. I'm Eric Casillas. Everybody in the pools, I like to say. Zach Simony, Mike McClure, Tom Casale. You get one on the line. And please tell me if you have factored in either. Notre Dame apparently having some issues. The line changing 3 points like that on a dime this late. Or Penn State showing up late. I'm giving you a wide berth. So tell me what your on-the-line play is, and if at all, anything that's happened in the last 3 hours, any news or developments has impacted your play. Tom Casale, you are first.
Yeah, listen, I already bet Notre Dame, and I agree with you. I think it's a 50-50 game. All I can think of is Joe Pesci. The whole store had the flu. Who has the flu, I think, is important. How many key players? And Penn State showing up late. I think it's a little, it's annoying, but I don't think it's going to impact the game. Listen, when you see things like this right before the game, you guys got to go with your handicap. Hope it's right. I think it's still going to be a close game. Still give me Notre Dame on the money line.
All right. Yeah, excellent. My cousin Vinny reference there. I wore this ridiculous thing for you, and it's all identical. Do you have an identical pick here, Zach, or are you going a different way?
Yeah, I've got the Irish as well. I'll take the 1.5 plus 1.5. And in terms of line movement, if this would have occurred a couple days earlier, maybe I would have had second thoughts here. But an hour before kickoff, usually that is bad news. You don't want to go towards the line movement this late in the day. And I look at Penn State. I believe they benefit from playing maybe the 2 weakest teams in the college football playoffs, SMU and Boise State. 2 games that did not really have a college football playoff atmosphere. And that's not to take away from Penn State's talent, but now you're going to face an even level opponent in Notre Dame, something you haven't done in over a month since you lost to Oregon in the Big Ten championship. And this Irish team just has a natural knack, a natural tendency of making those outlier plays, whether it's via special teams, turnovers, or their ground game. And it's simplicity and execution. I think that prevails again for Notre Dame here to win their 13th game in a row. I'll take the Irish plus 1.5.
And by the way, good point. Look, a lot of times this late line movement is public panic on a big game. If it's sort of, West Texas against East Roast Beef in basketball, and you get this kind of late line movement, I go, somebody knows something I don't. In this kind of public game, sometimes the public overreacts to a little news. Is that the case tonight? I don't know. Mike McClure, what are your thoughts and all in the line play?
I'm going to be on the first quarter under here. And I will say, when this line opened, I leaned first quarter over, but I have since come around to the under on this one. As far as some of the line movement, I think the things to be concerned with, though, potentially, as Tom said, who has the flu obviously matters. I think that there's any sort of speculation on trouble. It could be Jeremiah Love with the running game for Notre Dame. That player prop down to 34.5 yards. That could be the concern for me. All the reports where he's fine, still wearing the brace throughout the week. That could be the concern. But for me, both teams should want to run the football. Notre Dame, we know, is going to want to run the football, particularly with Riley Leonard. But if I am Penn State, I want to test this Notre Dame team defensively, because the one area where I think Notre Dame could be a little vulnerable is that front four in the running game. That is where I think Penn State should try to early have some success. I think this is essentially a running clock, and I know both of these teams have good defenses, will play that field position game here. I think it's a slower, conservative start, so I'm going to be on the under 9.5 here in the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm under for the whole game. I'm also under on the Notre Dame team total. I'm doing the show with you guys. I got a lot of things going on, so I can't really see right this second if the 24.5 is still there, if I bought it up. I saw minus 160 if you wanted to get up and get under 24.5 on Notre Dame. I'd still do it. Minus 150, minus 160. I don't think Notre Dame, 25 and 26 are dead numbers. Unless this game goes to overtime. And in a close game like this, I am a little scared about that. And, college overtime essentially means the game's going to be an over when you're in the mid-40s like this. Because both teams get the ball, you go back and forth, that kind of stuff. I just don't see Notre Dame putting 27 on Penn State here. I look at how Notre Dame has scored. They had a 98-yard touchdown run against Indiana. I don't see it happening again. And then you had a field goal. It was 3-3 going into half, except Georgia then gave them the ball on the 13-yard line after a turnover. One play, 13 yards, it's 10-3. And then they run the second half kickoff back for a touchdown. Now it's 17-3. They got 17 points in less than a minute of play. It's not happening tonight. Under for the game, under for the first quarter, under for Notre Dame, 24.5. I am a limbo low. My favorite kind of game, I love the unders. I love betting against the public. Just let the public just bet those overs, and I just keep running those unders out. So that's where I would go in this one. Well done, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to see those handsome and smiling faces on the program here, Primetime Pregame. And you want more, you need more, you can get it done early in the morning, Early Edge. Daily Sports Live Betting Podcast. Check it out now. Scan that QR code. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for being aboard. Enjoy the game. I'm Eric Casillas. We'll be back at it tomorrow over the weekend because we start 5 days of glorious football right now. Enjoy the rest of your day.
When you need your sports center now,
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
Hello and welcome to Game Day Scoreboard. I'm Hakeem Dermish. It is game day in Miami, where it's Notre Dame against Penn State in the Orange Bowl. The Fighting Irish and Nittany Lions playing for a spot in the national championship. Both schools looking to win their first natty since the late 1980s. And a huge injury update involving Penn State. Their star defensive end, Abdul Carter, game time decision for tonight's Orange Bowl against Notre Dame. The All-American pass rusher suffered an upper body injury during the Nittany Lions Fiesta Bowl win over Boise State. And Abdul Carter running out onto the field, big brace on his left shoulder. All signs pointing him to play tonight against Notre Dame, and Carter earned the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year award. He's been dominant this season, recording 22 tackles for a loss, 11 sacks, most in the Big Ten. He's a projected first-round pick in the upcoming NFL Draft. And for more, welcome in our Super Bowl champions, Bryant McFadden and Ryan Harris, who joins us from Miami. He'll be on the radio call for the Orange Bowl. Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter looking like he's going to be active. Ryan, what have you seen of him running out on the field, and how effective do you expect him to be tonight?
Well, offensive players came back to the tunnel to come and greet him before he came out and led the rest of the offensive and defensive lines out for tonight. As you mentioned, Hakeem, he has an extensive brace. And look, you can see the tape coming out of the shoulder pad, and the brace goes all the way down the arm. I mean, B-Mac can tell you, if you're that injured where you got to show that much tape and that much brace, it might not be a long night. And specifically as a right end rushing against a left tackle, you're not able to push off your inside hand. It's going to drastically change his pass rush. Sometimes you got to keep a player from hurting themselves. But if he's out there, if Abdul Carter is out there and feels like he can go, he will make a difference tonight.
And I think when you look at his presence just alone, because he's a leader on that team, it will do something in terms of the morale for the entire team, not just on the defensive side, but on the offensive side as well. But Ryan, to your point, he's nowhere close to being 100%. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Abdul kind of on a pitch count, more of a situational player, because they want to limit any opportunity for him to make this injury worse, understanding and knowing how bright his future is. So maybe more of a pass rusher than being an every down defender like he's been throughout his time with Penn State, especially this season.
Ryan, if he's able to play at even 75%, you're going to take that because of what kind of pressure he can bring.
Absolutely. And there's a fear factor. Look, I played tackle. I'm not afraid to admit it. When you go against some guys, you're like, man, I got to look at the number, not the name. And Abdul Carter is one of those players. He has a great get off. He uses his hands. He's going to make an NFL team very, very happy when they dial his number. But like I want to double click on something B-Mac said. I like him in a third down, just even as an intimidation factor. He's one of those players that when he's on the field, you need to know where he is, and he boosts the team. However, against the run, he will be a liability. And even if he comes out on a 3rd and short, like a 3rd and 4, a 3rd and 5, I fully expect the Irish offense to have an audible to run at him and make him play defense. And that's going to be an advantage to the Irish.
And speaking of defending the run, star running back for Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love, who's dealing with a right knee sprain, is good to go, will play tonight. Not expected to be at 100%, but it's tough to be at 100% at this point in the season at all. Love got injured in the regular season finale against USC, appeared to aggravate it in the Sugar Bowl. He leads the Irish with 1,076 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns. Ryan, with Jeremiah Love good to go, does this mean Marcus Freeman can lean on what got them here, the power running game?
Well, he can lean on it anyways because they have the deepest backfield in college football. There's a freshman, Aeneas Williams. Jadarian Price is also a back who's had 7 runs for over 40 yards this season. But the big thing with Jeremiah to watch out for is after he comes out of pregame warmups behind me, he said if he's not wearing his brace, he feels 100%. So the big thing is going to be whether he has a knee brace on or not. I don't know how a running back runs with one of those offensive lineman knee braces, but that's what he was wearing in practice. Didn't have a brace in the final practice, but B-Mac and I know that's a walkthrough. You can't fall victim to that information. So it will be key because although they do have other running backs, Nobody has the breakaway speed like Jeremiah Love, evidenced in his 98-yard touchdown run against Indiana. He's a key cog to this offense, and even if he's not healthy, he has to be dressed just to give his guys some confidence in the run game. And he's one of the best coaches, player coaches, that you also need to talk to guys in between reps.
Yeah, no doubt. This will be a tough test for Jeremiah Love, Darian Price, and quarterback Riley Leonard. Penn State leads FBS in red zone defense and takeaways. So, BMAC, is the game plan for the Nittany Lions to do whatever it takes to stop the run game or at least contain it?
Oh, no question, because that has been the most efficient part for Notre Dame, running the football and then generating the passing game behind the running game. So if I'm Penn State, I force Riley Leonard to see if he can beat you with his arms for 4 quarters, because when he is running the football, their offense is better. He becomes a plus run in the running game through QB improvising or design quarterback runs. But if you can find a way to make him do damage in the passing game from the pocket, then you can allow a guy like Abdul Carter to have an impact in this ball game, a guy like Dennis Sutton to have an impact in this ball game, because those are 2 prolific edge rushers for Penn State. But if you get the ground game going, now they have balance, and now they can be able to do what we've seen throughout this postseason run, which is be explosive and put points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, Penn State's secondary is also very, very good as well, but you can say the same about Notre Dame's linebackers as well. They are nasty. They will bring pressure as well. As for the X factor in this game, who could be the difference in this game? Ryan, who's the player on each team you're calling on to have a major impact tonight?
Well, for me, it's Nick Singleton at Penn State. This young man is amazing. He's the reason why Penn State is in this game. Over 1,000 yards rushing. He can beat you in the pass. He's tall at 6 foot, 230 pounds. Come on, Big Mac. You know, that's tough to bring down. If he's having a good night, it's going to be a long one for the Irish. And then for the Irish, Jordan Faison, yes, the nation's best lacrosse player who just won a national championship this spring, is also going to be the X factor for Notre Dame offensively. He has lightning speed, he has great hands, and he is more physical than his size, which always takes defenders by surprise. And another thing that's going to be an X factor here, guys, Penn State has not seen the speed or size of a team and defense like they will tonight. So size and speed is going to be a big X factor as well.
And you're talking about the speed. The X factor for me with Notre Dame is Darian Price. We're talking about Jeremiah Love, and we know he is going to play. But let's keep it real. We know he will be nowhere close to being 100%. He is the best playmaker. He's the most explosive weapon on their offense. But if he's not 100%, there lies the opportunity for Price, because if you remember when Jeremiah Love got injured against USC, guess who got the opportunities? Price. Guess who had a heck of a ball game over 100 yards? Price. He's a guy that can lean on you, not to mention, to your point, Ryan, he has the ability to turn a 5-yard run into a 40 or 50-yard run. So can he generate the production with the potential opportunities that he will see? We have to wait and see how that plays out. And then when it comes to Penn State, it starts and it stops with Drew Aller. He's my X factor for Penn State, and here's why. He's the best NFL prospect among the quarterbacks in the playoffs currently. He has the highest ceiling. He's been performing outstanding. And most importantly for me, in terms of why he is the X factor, because he's playing against a very, very feisty, opportunistic defense, a defense that has been the best in FBS in creating turnovers. If he can play smart football, to your point, with the runners that they have in the backfield, they're going to have positive yards. They're going to get into scoring range. But if he allows turnovers to surface in this ball game against Notre Dame, you give that offense extra possessions, they're going to take advantage of those said possessions. So for me, personally, when you look at Penn State, the X factor starts and it stops with Drew Aller.
Drew Aller. Just outside of Cleveland, by the way. I just wanted to
you had to get that in there.
I had to get that in there. You know, my guy from Medina, Ohio. Ryan, apparently Notre Dame had a special guest talk to them before kickoff. What's the story there?
Hakeem, Notre Dame brought in Tom Brady to talk to the team last night. He talked to the team for about 30 minutes, and then after the team meeting, met with Riley Leonard and the backup quarterback Steve Angeli separately for 20 minutes after that. I mean, what an incredible gift that Tom Brady brought to the team, and what a great speaker before you go into a game like this. Couldn't think of a better speaker. He has no real relationship with Marcus Freeman before last night. Jimmy Dunn, the great Notre Dame graduate, made it happen, and the players were buzzing all night from hearing from the multi-Super Bowl champion, soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Tom Brady. I think that's a great speaker. What do you guys think?
That's pretty cool.
Oh, no question. In terms of just to be in the presence of greatness, a player that, for those players that are currently in the locker room, they're younger, but they know who Tom Brady is, and they've watched him perform and go about his business in a professional way. So in these ball games, you're looking for any inch to kind of get extra motivation going amongst the locker room. So for Coach Freeman and his staff, being able to get the GOAT and Tom Brady to come talk to your guys definitely should do them well in this fourth-quarter matchup.
So he brings in a rival, huh? Because Marcus Freeman went to Ohio State. Tom Brady went to Michigan.
At this point,
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Everybody loves each other now. We're all getting all nice. And I'm watching the AFC North on Hard Knocks, and they got me thinking I like all these coaches, Mike Tomlin. I'm not trying to like those coaches. I'm not trying to like my rivals.
Well, when Marcus Freeman was an Ohio State Buckeye, he was a Buckeye. He's currently a Fighting Irish. He can care less about the rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State.
Nope.
Who's paying the bills?
You can't change your allegiance.
Who's paying the bills,
Ryan? Notre Dame is. Appreciate you.
I'm with B-Mac.
All right, appreciate you. Our Super Bowl champions, Ryan Harris, he'll be on the call for Notre Dame tonight at the Orange Bowl. B-Mac with us throughout the night here on CBS Sports HQ. Men, thank you. Coming up, lock the bleep in. Say what? That's the theme of Penn State's playoff run. James Franklin looking to win another big game, standing in his way. Marcus Freeman, who has Notre Dame trying to wake up the echoes. Keep it locked. You're watching CBS Sports HQ.